Hi guys, Nancy, I think we need to put up my video. I'm Cathy Sikorski. I'm seeing Nancy's picture, not my video, so I don't know what's going on with that, but maybe you guys can figure that out. Okay, there we go. I'm the elder lawyer who talks about caregivers and caregiving at work. And today I want to talk about how we can make it work being a caregiver and also being at work. So next slide, Nancy. Everyone is talking about this. It's not just me. It's not just me in my industry. These are articles that have been coming up almost on a daily basis from Forbes, from Benefits Pro, from Harvard Business School in the last 2 years, in the last 2 months about caregiver fatigue, caregiver problems, and why if you are a person at work or who goes to work, you probably either are a caregiver or have people at your work who are caregivers. So we need to talk about this. Next slide. But what's the problem? You would think, okay, everybody's talking about it. This is the problem, though. They're not actually talking about it at work, right? 24% of employers don't even believe that this is a problem, and 70% of employees won't bring it up. And there's a lot of reasons around that, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, but you can see that it's about a lack of communication. And we've all talked about EAPs here, but the problem is some of them don't even know about EAPs or, as we said, avail themselves of those benefits. And what is this leading to? It's actually leading to the Great Resignation, which you've all heard about, but caregiving is a big, big piece of this because people have found, especially through the last 2 years, that those caregiving issues not being addressed at work or not being allowed to talk about them at work have made people say, I just can't make work and caregiving work. So what can we do? We have to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about today what we need to talk about, how we need to talk about it, and who is going to talk about this thing. So the first thing is, what do we have to talk about? Well, the first thing we have to talk about is the big picture, the caregiving trends. This is not just about elder care, although this is a big deal. 10,000 people a day are turning 65. 10,000 people a day. Yes, we are in the middle of the baby boomer aging dilemma, right? And it doesn't mean that these people are all being cared for. It means that they may be your employee and caring for people. A lot of people continue to work well into their 70s, but caregiving is also about children. It's about disabled children. It's about disabled adults. It's about spousal care. It's often even about friends, but caregiving is something that is not going away ever. It's out of the closet now, and we're going to talk about it. So then the next thing in the big picture are caregiver benefits. What do you actually have at work? And I talked about this at length in the last episode. And so I'd like you to go back. We're going to give you the link for that about how to look at these videos. But there are plenty of caregiver benefits that already exist at work, and people don't know about it, and they're not using them from the C-suite down to the front line up. We all have to get on board with this conversation. And the third thing is, yes, this Great Resignation. We've got to talk about why is this happening and what can we do to stem the tide. And mostly, of course, it's been, I think they said almost 4 million women have stepped out of the workforce since COVID began. And a lot of that is caregiving driven. So what are the current events? Well, work from home, WFH, has become a big deal. This has been a current event because we were all sort of forced into it, right? But people are stepping back and saying, wait a minute, I like work from home. It is working for me because I have a flexible life now that I can integrate my caregiving as well as everything else in my whole life. There's a very famous guy out there named Dan Price who started this company several years ago where he pays every employee a minimum of $70,000 a year. It's pretty starkly amazing, right? But he just put out there that I asked my employees, what did they want? He said 7% wanted to go full-time, 32% wanted a hybrid, and 62% wanted to work from home. And I decided, do whatever you want as long as you get your job done. This is the conversation from an individual basis about what are we going to do? Because as you can see, it leads to a work-life balance question, which is really kind of addressed by all of my other contemporaries in this conversation today. Whether you're having issues with divorce, grief, stress, you're trying to find a balance that you can continue to work, right? And I want you to make it personal, because Esther told you today her personal story. John told you her personal story. Allison isn't even here today because she is doing a caregiving thing with her dad. We all have a story. And if from the C-suite down, we can start to tell our story. And believe me, everybody's got a story about caregiving, and you start to make it personal, then people know you understand. Then it becomes a conversation at work that's not embarrassing, that's not problematic, and that is just an issue to be resolved. So that's what we need to talk about. Next slide, please. So who needs to talk about it? This is a really nice graphic that says, in a circle, everyone. Everyone needs to talk about it. You need to talk about it in the circle going to the right, and you need to talk about it in the counterclockwise way. Because if you're not all talking about it, then it doesn't become a company policy. And when it does become a company policy, rather than, oh my God, COVID is here, so-and-so has COVID, so-and-so has long COVID, we'll just deal with this on an individual basis. No, when it becomes a company policy that they have to be caregiving, they got to take care of their kids, everybody has to be out of school for a while, whatever the problem is, that we know how we're going to deal with caregiving issues. And the more you talk about it, the more you can put policies into place that make sense for everyone. And again, we've got a lot of solutions that we talked about in the last episode, and you can find those solutions whether you already have them in place or you want to put them in place, but you can't put any solutions in place until you realize you need to talk about it. Okay, next slide. So start your engines. We got to figure out how to talk about it rather than being intimidated, embarrassed, or ashamed. So how are we going to do that? Nancy, next slide. I'm going to give you in that next slide 12 solutions, believe it or not, how to start this conversation. On the left-hand side are 6 ways for C-suite HR and management. And I'm hoping in this room, I know it's about individuals, but I'm hoping we have C-suite people, HR people, management people. You're all individuals. And then solopreneurs or entrepreneurs with just a few people, frontline workers, HR and management workers in smaller companies. All of you are individuals, and you all have to be able to talk about this. So in the big picture, are we caregivers? Yeah, you are. I'm sorry, you just are. I don't even have to ask that question. But do we need data? Does our company, depending on how big we are, need to create and collect data and then use it as information on the resources we have now? Who are the people that we need it? What are they using? And can we have conversations in places we already have people gathering who are caregiving and have caregiver dilemmas? Our ESAs, our EBNs, our DEIs. Yes, I know these are all letters, but you guys know what they are. And maybe even have a designated HR caregiving coordinator. Oh my gosh, what a concept. And on the other side, have we talked to HR and management? Do they know we have this problem? Have I gotten out the book? And I don't even mean a physical book. I know everything's online, but I've actually looked at my book of benefits to know what is there. It's kind of like Nancy saying, have that EAP phone number there. Do I even know what I have? It's like Esther saying, do you know what your grief policy is? Do you have one? What kind of education and tools do you need? Do you need the people in this room today that are teaching you to come and teach your company? Do you need the people in this room today to teach you how to talk as an individual to your company? Because work from home and flexibility has addressed it. And how has it addressed it? Well, maybe not well, but at least it start to address it. You need to start focused conversations with the person at the water cooler, with the boss, with the HR. All of us have to be individually responsible to start this going. Next slide. What would happen if this was the norm? What kind of incredible things would happen? We would be the Incredibles. We'd all be flexible. It would be awesome. Next slide. So we have to keep our eye on the prize. And I'm not going to kid you, if you weren't here before, this was my last slide from the last time, because this is the prize. If you could just click, Nancy, it's going to come up with our 6 solutions. All of these things happen. They're statistically proven. There isn't anything here who doesn't help the individual and the company and the bottom line. If we all, one more click, Nancy, learn how to refocus and accept that it's not on fighting the old, but on changing the new. And that's what we're all talking about here today. Next slide. This is everybody. Everybody who was in the room today or was in the room before, because Allison couldn't be with us today. And I have a YouTube channel. I think a couple of us do too. Maybe we should all come back on video, you guys. That we all have a place where you can look at the 3 videos once this is downloaded in our information. So if you can see all of these, take them to work, use this information. This has been such a generous gift from all the people in this room. And I am, for one, I'm very proud to be a part of this that we put together. So
thank you. Thank you so much, Cathy, and thank you everyone for having the rest of the presenters. This was a passion project for us. We did it because we saw the need to talk about this more often, and we knew that we had diverse perspectives to bring on it, and felt that we could potentially provide value to those of you that took the time to join us. So thank you so much. Please feel free to reach out to any of us directly. I do have one question, I think, just a thank you. Reach out to any of us directly. As Cathy mentioned, I also have a YouTube channel, Olympic Crest Insurance. There is a dedicated playlist for this series. This episode will be up by the end of the week, but you can find all 3 episodes there. So again, thank you so much. If anybody wants a slide deck, feel free to send me an email and I will be happy to share it with you. If you don't have my contact information, reach out to any of the other people that may have invited you and you may be more comfortable reaching out to. So again, thank you, everyone.